What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Apple just released the next generation of iPhone with the iPhone 17, iPhone Air, iPhone 17 Pro, and iPhone 17 Pro Max, and each of these new phones are very different from each other. In this video, I'll go over all the differences between the different models and then the different pros as well, because there are a little bit of differences between those two, and if you find this video helpful in choosing which iPhone is best for you, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so this video can find more people like yourselves. Now, let's get right into the news. Let's begin with the prices, where there were some changes. iPhone 17 starts at $799. The iPhone 17 price remains the same as last year, despite a bump to 250 gigabytes of starting storage, which is a good reason to upgrade if you have an older iPhone and are constantly running out of storage. The iPhone Air starts at $999. The iPhone Air is slotted into the lineup where the iPhone 16 Plus was, but is priced like the 16 Pro. As we go through the comparisons, you can let me know if you think the Air is worth the $200 cost over the 16 Plus, which started at $799. The iPhone 17 Pro now starts at $1,099. The smaller Pro model is the only one in the lineup to get a small price hike to start at $100 above last year's iPhone 16 Pro, though it does start at a higher 256 gigabytes of storage. This was a move to make room for the Air, as people will need to decide if an extra $100 will be worth the jump to a Pro phone, but get 0.2 inches less on the Pro of screen real estate. iPhone 17 Pro Max keeps its price at $1,199 and will also start at 256 gigs, so no changes from last year. Despite concerns about tariffs potentially passing more costs onto consumers, the only model in the lineup to get a price hike was that iPhone 17 Pro, but the iPhone 17 Air is also priced at $999, and maybe there was a little bit of tariffs in that, because I'm not really sure where that price point is coming from. All iPhone 17 models will start pre-orders on Friday, September 12th, and deliveries and pickups will then be available the next Friday on September 19th. Now let's get into the 17 lineup's new designs and display changes. The base level iPhone now comes with a screen size of 6.3 inches, up from 6.1 inches on the base iPhone 16, and is housed in aluminum. Some people might like this change as it doesn't cost money to get a bigger phone, but others might not like it as it might be too big for their hand or their pocket, and this is the smallest iPhone that you can buy now. For the screen, it's rocking a Super Retina XDR display, now with ProMotion and an always-on display, a first for the base level iPhone. It also receives Apple's new Ceramic Shield 2, which claims to have 3 times better scratch resistance, which is always nice to have if your keys destroy your screen while they're both in your pocket. The brand new iPhone Air obviously has all new specs, as is the first release, but if you're interested, I'll do some comparisons to the iPhone 16 Plus that it's replacing. The chassis of the Air is a crazy 5.5 millimeters thin, and it's made out of titanium, making it the thinnest iPhone ever made. The 16 Plus had a thickness of 7.8 millimeters. 2.3 millimeters may not seem like a lot, but it's a 30% thinner, and when you're talking about something that small, it does make a big difference. The iPhone 17 Air also boasts a 6.5 inch display, 0.2 inches smaller than the iPhone 16 Plus, and 0.2 inches larger than the base iPhone 17 screen. The screen is also the Super Retina XDR display with ProMotion and always-on display. It also receives Apple's new Ceramic Shield 2, like the iPhone 17. And now let's talk about the Pro models. The 17 Pro also offers a 6.3-inch Super Retina XDR display with ProMotion and an always-on display, as it has for the last few years now, and Ceramic Shield 2. It also now goes up to 3,000 nits of peak brightness, up from 2,000 on the iPhone 16 Pro. It is also rolled back to aluminum from titanium, which I'll explain later. When it comes to the iPhone 17 Pro, there is another minor change in size difference, with the main footprint now 5.91 inches by 2.83 inches, a 2/100th of an inch increase on both sides. The thickness has also increased to 0.34 inches, another 2/100th of an inch increase. At 7.03 ounces, the iPhone 16 Pro was also heavier than the previous generation. However, the iPhone 17 Pro is heavier still by 7.27 ounces. This is mostly due to higher density batteries. The Pro Max also sees some changes as well, and it offers the same 6.9-inch Super Retina XDR with ProMotion and an always-on display as it has for the last couple years as well, and Ceramic Shield 2. It also now goes up to 3000 nits peak brightness like the iPhone 17 Pro, up from 2000 on the iPhone 16 Pro Max. The 17 Pro Max sees the biggest change in thickness, which is growing by half a millimeter from 8.25 to 8.75. The height and width and depth are each getting larger by 0.4 millimeters as well. Now let's talk about internals. The iPhone 17 was the only iPhone to get the regular A19 chip, with the Air and both Pros getting the A19 Pro chip. Interesting that the Air received the A19 Pro over the A19 since it was replacing the 16 Plus, but the A19 Pro chip in the Air is not the same one as in the Pro iPhones, with only 5 GPU cores instead of 6. Another interesting thing is that the Air is also the only 17 to get the new C1X modem that Apple says is the only reason they were able to make it so thin. The base iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and 17 Pro Max each have a Qualcomm chip to handle the modem. The C1X is limited to sub 6 GHz 5G bands, while the Qualcomm modem in the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, and Pro Max supports both sub 6 GHz and millimeter wave. The sub 6 GHz is the more widespread version of 5G, while millimeter wave is more limited and typically found in major cities and urban areas. All new iPhone 17s also receive Apple's new N1 chip, which enables support for Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and Thread, along with improved performance for features like personal hotspot and AirDrop. Apple also has a new vapor chamber in the Pro lineup. This will help with heat dissipation in line with the new aluminum chassis, which is better at getting rid of heat than titanium on the previous couple Pro models. Technically also an internal part, on the Air and Pro phones, Apple's put Apple Silicon, speakers, and of course the cameras into the new camera plateau, as Apple is calling it. And now moving on to the cameras, there's some really nice upgrades, and one I really don't understand. Each of the 4 new 17s receives an all-new 18 megapixel front-facing camera with now center stage that makes it far easier to switch between portrait and group photos without needing to turn your phone sideways, and dual capture, allowing you to record on selfie camera and the back camera at the same time. Video is also much improved on that camera, but on the Air, you'll be missing 4K Dolby Vision at 30 frames per second, which is present on both the base 17 and both Pro models, so I'm really not sure why the more expensive Air isn't getting that when the camera is capable of it. The base iPhone 17 gets a 48 megapixel dual fusion camera system, 48 megapixel fusion main, and 48 megapixel fusion ultra wide, up from 12 megapixels on the iPhone 16, all tied into 2 actual lenses on the vertical bump. The 17 Air is where things get really strange, with only 1 camera lens and $100 more than the 17. It comes with a 48 megapixel fusion camera system and 48 megapixel fusion main in the single lens on the elongated plateau, leaving software to do a lot of the heavy lifting. It also cannot shoot spatial videos due to its single lens. So why does the base iPhone have a better camera system than the more expensive iPhone Air? If anyone has any ideas, please let me know down in the comments, because I'm really interested to see why Apple did this. Finally, both Pro models get 3 48 megapixel rear cameras, up from a 12 megapixel telephoto lens last year. They also receive 8 times optical zoom, up from 5 times, which is going to bring much more better depth to your photos. On the back of the base iPhone 17, it sticks with the same design as the 16s had, but with the Air and Pros, it now has a new design. They have an aluminum base with a glass center rectangle to allow for wireless charging and MagSafe. The glass is a new ceramic back shield that is supposed to be 4 times stronger and more resistant to cracking than the previous models. Speaking of MagSafe, the iPhone 17 and both Pros have 25 watts charging when connected to a 30 watt adapter, but the Air only has 20 watts charging on a 30 watt adapter. Another handcuffing Apple gave the more expensive Air. And on the topic of charging, the Pro and Pro Max have support for USB 3 for 20 times faster transfers, while the Air and 17 both have access to USB 2 still. One positive the Air has over the 17 is the option for 1 terabyte of storage, while the 17 only gets up to 512 gigabytes. The 17 Pro goes up to 1 terabyte, and the Pro Max has an option for 2 terabytes. But that's an $800 option, and I would suggest getting a MagSafe Thunderbolt storage device if you're housing large files like 4K video on your phone or any other large files that you're going to need to transfer. So that's everything new in the iPhone 17 lineup and all major additions and differences between the phones. Let me know what you think of the 17 Air and which iPhone you're hoping to get down in the comments. As mentioned earlier, pre-orders start on September 12th and deliveries or pickup will begin on September 19th. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all my new product videos coming out this week, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.